Okay, hold on, guys. We have a special treat for you. This is Chris looking through his medicine cabinet. So far we found tampons,
earplugs,
acne creams, earwax remover,
and earplugs.
We're still looking for the band-aids.
So,
okay, right now
your zits and your ears are fine, Chris.
So Chris is considering using a tampon around his finger because he's bleeding.
Oh, this is a wet towel.
What are you doing?
I don't know what to do.
What will the wet towel do?
Always clean.
How is that better?
Dermatologist tested.
Chris just took away the what is it? The Scott towel paper.
The dirty Scott towel. Now I'm using the always clean.
Yeah. And it says right here, right next to the asterisk, to be gentle to skin.
Okay.
So he replaced it with a smaller piece of paper, except it's a wet towel, so...
Yeah. And the paper napkin that he used to cover his thumb does look like a used tampon.
Hey, it's starting to now. Look, the new one, too.
I think we're good. Let's go.
April Fools, everyone! Today we're gonna do comedy! Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dreamer's Edge podcast. I was gonna say .com. I'm just so used to saying it.
With Nicholas, I'm the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and film critic. Hey, Nick, you know what's the most important thing about comedy?
I don't know.
Timing!
Oh! You got me there. Yep.
What sort of comedy do you like, and what works for you? What makes a great comedy for you, Nick?
Well, it mostly relies on the type of humor. There are certain types of humor I like, and some I don't, and it really varies on people. For example, I really like, slapstick to a certain degree can be fun if it's well done. And I said to a certain degree, I would not watch a 2-hour slapstick comedy that would just annoy me to death. I really enjoy witty banter between people, that's fun. And if characters are fun, funny characters, kind of like Kramer and Seinfeld in the early seasons, that's funny. Okay. What about you?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. It is subjective. It is one of the things where, there's some things people will find funny. There's some things that I will and they don't, and that's just fine. That's everybody's humor. And, personally, I like the rapid-fire dialogue in particular. I think Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man, for example, or Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer did it in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's just that sort of, almost 50s and rapid fire dialogue. That always works for me when the jokes come faster than I can really understand them.
Yeah.
I find that really funny.
Yeah.
I like pop culture references. That's why Scream is one of my favorite comedies. Scream, not Scary Movie. Scream.
Yeah.
Sorry, I also like satire a whole bunch. I like the political comments. I like Thank You for Smoking, for example, is a great comedy for me. But I think there are some universal things that really do make a comedy work overall. And I think one of them is the actors. You gotta have likable actors. While they have to be funny, obviously, you have to have that timing, but they also have to be likable. If you don't like the person, no matter how funny they are, I don't think you're gonna laugh.
I can see that, because a lot of people like Jack Black. I cannot stand that actor, and apparently his comedies are really funny. I don't find them funny at all. And I've watched them with other people laughing next to me, and it's like, what is so funny about this? He's just annoying.
Yeah, I'm one of the people who actually still has a lot of time for Jack Black, although less and less. The more he does that same shtick over and over again, the more tiresome it gets, which gets to another point.
Yeah.
It's got to remain fresh, If we've seen that joke before, it stops being funny. Will Ferrell. What's that? A goofy sports movie? I wonder who's playing in it. Could it be Will Ferrell? Yeah, no, and I feel the same way. I think, whenever they have Mel Gibson trying to be funny in Lethal Weapon, because I don't like him anymore, I go back to these old movies, and when he's doing his funny shtick with Murtaugh there, with Danny Glover, and I'm like, F you, man. Because I hate the guy now.
I guess you're not a fan of Lethal Weapon movies either.
No, I used to be, and it's like I can't stand them anymore just because he's in it, and a lot of it relies on comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
Likable characters is another thing. It's likable actors is one thing. Likable characters is another. An example of that is Jeffster in Chuck. Jeff and Lester.
Yeah.
These people in real life, if I met them, I would hit them with a shovel. And so whenever they had their little shtick in every Chuck episode, I groan. I can't stand it. And I understand how it's funny intellectually, but I also, there's a part of me going like, in real life, I would want to kill them.
Yeah. If you wouldn't like that character in real life, it's kind of, like, no, you're just annoying. You're not funny. It's, there's a thin line between annoying and funny, and you can't cross it or else it's completely ruined.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory often crosses that line for me as well. Like Sheldon, he starts off funny, and then he loses me by just pushing it one step too far with the shtick of always having Leonard being his victim there.
Yeah, I can see that. I kind of stopped watching that show yet too because it got annoying and less nerdy too.
And finally, and this I think is more, perhaps a little bit more personal to me, I like relatable situations. I think if it's completely out there and zany, I completely disconnect.
For example?
Well, Scary Movie is a good example where they took the joke that already existed in Scream, and at Scream it was right at the level where I think it's funny, and then they zanified it. And it stopped being funny for me. And it's like, it's weird because it's the same joke. It's just the same joke taken to the extreme. But taken to the extreme is where it completely loses me.
Oh, I see.
Well, there's the classic thing where with Ghostface getting the crap beaten out of him every time he tries to kill someone. Yeah. And that's a running joke in Scream that had me howling when I saw the movie in theaters. He gets hit in the groin and all of that. And it's like, it's very, very funny because you usually don't see that with killers.
Yeah.
And in Scary Movie, he has a piano fall on his head and then a plan and then a house. And I'm like, I can relate to getting hit in the groin. I can. I don't like it, but I can relate to it.
How often does it happen to you on a weekly basis, Dimitri?
Well, I'm Asian. I come on to a lot of white women. No. I'm kidding.
No, you're not. You're really Asian.
I am Asian. I'm sorry, but I've been talking a while. Were there other points for you?
No, you pretty much covered it. I mean, what I really like in humor, though, is variety. If you can have a movie with different kinds of humor in it and not the same thing over and over and over again, it'll be funny. If you just have, a movie where you're trying to, make gross out humor or something and it's gross out humor for 2 hours, no, it's just going to be annoying after the first half hour. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I hate gross out humor. Once in a while, it's funny, maybe 1 or 2 jokes per movie, but having it the whole movie, it just becomes boring at the end. It's pretty much the same for everything. Like, quick jokes like that, like you were mentioning. If you have only 2 hours of that, I think it would get, really boring after a while and you pretty much get a headache too.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe. I do watch an awful lot of Gilmore Girls, and that is all they have in Gilmore Girls, and I do enjoy it. But you have to be able to pull it off, is the thing with that humor.
I guess, yeah. But I like variety, and when you're watching one thing, that's why sometimes you watch comedy specials, and half an hour is good, an hour you're stretching it, 2 hour special, you're like, oh no, you're really pulling it now. It's really not funny anymore.
I'm gonna go ahead and call Buffalo Poop on that.
Really?
Yeah, because we both watch House. And you're the one who always complains whenever House, the series, deviates from the formula of having House abuse everyone and find the solution. Whenever it deviates from that, you're the first one to complain.
Yeah, but I watch it because of that, and I don't watch 6 hours of House in a row. I watch an hour of it because I'm kind of expecting that. It's like some people hate him, but I like Dane Cook as a comedian. And I would watch like specials half an hour, but sometimes 2 hours of it, okay, that's too much.
Yeah, well, I admit Vicious Circle, I think.
Yeah.
Terrific show. Very fun to watch. But I watched in 2 parts.
Yeah, exactly. Variety is good in comedy.
I agree. All right, then. I guess it's time to go to Underrated picks. Choose one. Why don't you go first?
All right. Underrated. First one is Curb Your Enthusiasm, by Larry David. It's basically exaggerated days in the life of Larry David, who he feels like everything goes wrong around him. If you know the character, he was basically who George Costanza on Seinfeld was based on. Everything around him, fails miserably. He tries to be a nice guy, he tries to be helpful, but it always blows up in his face. It is kind of painful to watch because you can see he's a nice guy, but it always fails. But it's kind of a funny, painful. It's really a good show.
But it is very much appreciated.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's on HBO, so not a lot of people see it. So I guess.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can see why it could be underrated because not everybody has access to it.
All right, fair enough. But, whether or not it falls into the mighty underrated category, it certainly is a really good recommendation because it is a good show.
Yeah,
definitely. And it does feel a little bit like what Seinfeld could have been sometimes. It does feel that way. I've certainly heard that comment a lot.
Yeah.
Alright, since you named a sitcom, I'm going to go with a sitcom as well. I'm going to go with Scrubs Med School, which is the season 9 of Scrubs. But they renamed it because they totally changed the concept of it. Instead of being Zach Braff and company doing the same jokes they've been doing for 8 seasons before, they graduated the main cast. They took out half the cast. They graduated the remaining cast and made them teachers at a medical school and introduced a new principal cast of students sort of suffering these professors. And it is funny because you get to see Zach Braff as this sort of clingy, touchy-feely, I want to be your friend teacher that nobody can stand. And Dr. Cox, of course, remains the hard-ass teacher, but they found a new angle on it because now he's found somebody that he actually likes, and that person becomes his protege, and being Dr. Cox's protege is almost worse than being hated by him, which is really great. They found a really fresh angle. It was more like Police Academy with doctors than anything else.
Okay.
And, Police Academy 3 with doctors. And it was really funny, and unfortunately nobody watched it because everybody called it Zombie Scrubs because the Scrubs was supposed to end a year before, and nobody really gave it a chance, which is really unfortunate.
Okay.
And of course, ABC didn't really advertise it as much as they should have.
Why zombie?
And because the series is supposed to be dead, and it's still going.
That's ridiculous.
And it's too bad because if people had given it a chance, I think they would have liked it. And they have a chance now. It's on DVD, and it's certainly worth a rental, definitely. I'm going to buy it myself.
All right. Well, we can switch to movies now.
Mm-hmm.
A comedy I really liked that seemed really silly was Dodgeball. And critics didn't like it, but Dodgeball was funny. It seems it's going to be just only slapsticks, people receiving balls in the face, and it's funny. But it has a lot more, very varied humor in it. I thought it was pretty funny. They just kept the slapsticks to a tolerable level, not too much of it. It was pretty high, but still. And it was well made, too. It wasn't, they had very good comedians for that. And the actual, ending that was supposed to be is even funnier than the actual real ending of the movie if you have the DVD. So it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I agree. The alternate ending is the ending that really fits the movie because one of the things you mentioned that there's different types of comedies, and one of the principal types of comedy that's not advertised in any of the that is not advertised actually.
Yeah.
That is not advertised in any of the adverts. It's not advertised in the adverts.
Okay.
Is that it is not so much a parody but a satire of the sports movie where they really make fun of the different beats of the sports movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And those jokes really work well because the full story title is Dodgeball, a true underdog story.
Yeah.
And there is that running joke of making okay, well, this is the movie beat that happens in the underdog movie, but this is what would happen in real life. This is what happens to these characters. And,
yeah.
And they do that a lot, and it's always very, very funny.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Unfortunately, all that was advertised for that movie, it was people receiving balls in the face, and that's it's part of the movie, but it's not all of it. And when it is in the movie, it's actually pretty funny. A lot more funny than just seeing a random advert of people receiving balls in the face. That's not funny.
Oh yeah, and that's because Brian Cox is throwing the ball and Alan Tudyk is receiving them, and these are just two terrific character actors that just meld with the characters so well. I mean, there's nothing funnier than seeing an accomplished actor like Brian Cox throwing balls in people's faces. Yeah. It's sort of imagine Morgan Freeman doing that, essentially. It's sort of the same effect. It's really funny.
And the cameos were good in that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Funny cameos that were really short and really effective. So I really like that movie.
I agree that movie made me laugh. It's a good comedy. Movies as well. Movies. I have. There you go. Ghost Town. Ricky Gervais' first American movie. And since he hasn't made British movies, so I suppose Ricky Gervais' first movie.
Okay.
Now Ricky Gervais, you all know him, creator of The Office, creator of Extras. He's a really talented comedian, very funny. Not as big a fan of his podcasts and reality shows. Like, that doesn't really work as well for me because he seems to find his one friend way funnier than I do. But the stuff that he actually writes, his actual creative stuff, I think are pretty genius. And Ghost Town was a movie that everybody was like, oh, like Ricky Gervais is like such an edgy person and character, and he plays a Hollywood movie and he plays a nice guy. Wow, he sold out. And I'm like, no, he just did something different, you know? And I applaud that. It's actually a really sweet comedy with Tia Leone and Greg Kinnear. The story is Ricky Gervais is a dentist who doesn't like people. He's not a people person. He's very sarcastic and aggressive, and he just manages to insult everyone around him without necessarily meaning to. It's just that he's just that kind of abrasive person and just insular person. And one day he has a near-death experience that allows him to see ghosts. And all these ghosts want him to help people. But because he's sort of this very loner type, insular person, he really doesn't want to. And eventually one of the ghosts, Greg Kinnear, convinces him to help him with his wife, because his wife is about to marry this douchebag. Greg Kinnear's wife is about to marry this douchebag, and he enlists the help of Tim Minear to stop it. The twist is, actually, Greg Kinnear, the ghost, is the douchebag, and the new guy in his wife's life is actually a really good guy. And so they get stuck in that situation. It's actually really, really sweet. It has really touching ideas about what makes death painful and how imperfect people are. And at the same time, it has these really biting moments of humor with that premise where the people you thought would be douchebags are not, and all the roles are reversed, so it doesn't follow that usual formula. It's actually a really, really sweet and funny movie. That was my pick.
All right. I've not seen that movie, so I can't comment on it.
So I guess now it's time for The Electric Boogaloo Factory.
Favorite part of the podcast.
Yeah. Woo! For those of you who are new, The Electric Boogaloo Factory is when we take a franchise that doesn't deserve a sequel, or a ninth sequel, and we try to make a sequel out of it. What did you pick?
I would pick Meet the Fockers. And since it's very easy, you just need a catchy title.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Dead Fockers. They're mourning the death of the Robert De Niro character. And, all you need for that movie is just a bunch of names with Fokker behind it. So you could have, like, Happy Fokker, Dirty Fokker, P. Diddy Fokker. And, that's all you need for the movie.
There is one flaw in your synopsis there. Nobody would mourn the death of the Robert De Niro character.
I guess his daughter would, because his daughter has, like, this attachment to him that everything he does is normal, and I don't get that, but, she would mourn him, so the Ben Stiller character is forced to go to the funeral with her, and, he brings a bunch of Fockers with him, and that would be the movie.
Yeah, I can just see the eulogy. Like, I honestly can see it, the way that these movies tend to be written, where he goes, like, I know that, we weren't really related by blood, says Ben Stiller about Robert De Niro, but in my mind, he was a fucker. He was a great big fucker. I can see them going with that joke throughout the entire sermon,
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, I would not watch that now. Alright, my turn. Like you, I'm gonna pick a franchise that has quite a few sequels. I'm going to do the 7th and 8th sequel to American Pie.
Alright.
2 sequels in one Electric Boogaloo entry. It occurs to me that they've done pretty much everything you can do about, male and female sexuality in the American Pie series. Well, less female, but sort of, kind of, with the Alison Hannigan character.
Yeah.
But what they haven't done is homosexual relationships and sexuality. So I think that's what I would want to tackle. So I would, release 2 movies at the same time, or dealing with that. One for the gay males and one for the gay females. So it would be American Clam and American Corn Dog.
Awesome.
I think so. So, like, both movies would follow a group of lesbians and a group of gay men who really want to get laid. So they go out, and because they're not straight, they just get laid, because it's really that easy when you're not straight. The end.
How long are your movies? Because, in the first movie, the whole point is getting laid. And at the end, they realize that, maybe getting laid is not that important. And they get laid anyway.
Yeah.
So,
and then they go try to get laid in the second movie all over again.
Exactly. So, how long does it take for your characters to realize that, hey, we can get laid between each other?
It really wouldn't take that long. It would be... Want to F? Yeah, okay.
All right.
So I guess that's it for the Electric Boogaloo Factory and the podcast. So if you have any questions, comments you want to share with us, write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment at idiomanic.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. And we will see you next time. Okay, hold on, guys. We have a special treat for you. This is Chris looking through his medicine cabinet. So far, we found tampons,
Earplugs.
acne creams, earwax remover,
and earplugs.
We're still looking for the band-aids.
I'm the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and film critic. Hey, Nick, you know what's the most important thing about comedy?
I don't know.
Timing!
Oh! You got me there. Yep.
What sort of comedy do you like, and what works for you? What makes a great comedy for you, Nick?
Well,
the paper napkin that he used to cover his thumb does look like a used tampon.
Hey, it's starting to now. Look, the new one, too.
I think we're good. Let's go.
April Fools, everyone! Today we're gonna do comedy! Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dreamer's Edge podcast. I was gonna say .com. I'm just so used to saying it.
With Nicholas.
So,
Okay, right now...
your zits and your ears are fine, Chris.
We're doing it.
So Chris is considering using a tampon around his finger because he's bleeding.
Oh, this is a wet towel.
What are you doing?
I don't know what to do.
What will the wet towel do?
Always clean.
How is that better?
Dermatologist tested.
Chris just took away the what is it? The Scott towel paper.
The dirty, dirty Scott towel. Now I'm using the always clean.
Yeah. And it says right here, right next to the asterisk, to be gentle to skin.
See, yeah,
Oh
so he
my
replaced
God.
it with a smaller piece of paper, except it's a wet towel, so...
Yeah. And